Zeal and welcome to Zeal Crew Online. We are so glad that you are joining us here today on Zeal Crew. If you don't know me, my name is Grace and I'm part of the team here in Hereford for Zeal. If you don't know where Herefordshire is, it's a totally okay question. It is a little town basically in the middle of nowhere. We are known for our farming and I actually live on a farm, so you can't get much more born and bred than me. If you are watching and you're from Herefordshire, we would love to hear from you. Get in contact or leave a comment on this video. I would love to give a special welcome if this is your first time here. Whether you stumbled across us or a friend invited you, you're totally welcome here. All we ask of you is to sit back and relax.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Zeal Crew. My name is Rebecca and I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what has been happening this week. But first of all, just check out this sky. Like, look how clear it is. Look at it. Live in nature. I just love nature. If you didn't catch it, Sarah and I did a flip bottle dare challenge. Basically, you flip bottles and you dare each other. And if it lands, then you have to do the dare. If it doesn't land, then you don't do the dare. If I get this, you have to go live on Facebook or Instagram. And you have to, I don't know, tell the weirdest story you can. Please don't get it.
Plugs go into...
Okay, so if I land this one, you have to crank forward the DLTV. Okay, here we go.
Come on, come on. Definitely an interesting one. Head on over to our IGTV to watch it there. We also had Chloe sharing an inspirational word on Thursday all the way from Glasgow. What? So make sure you head on over to our Instagram to check that one out as well. As over the last few weeks the government guidelines have been relaxed, we've been able to hang out a lot more. And we want to see who you've been hanging out with outside in this glorious sunshine. So yeah, guys, send us some pictures or tag us if you've been hanging out with some of your friends from Zeal or some of your friends who aren't part of Zeal. Tag us and share who you've been hanging out with this week.
Guys, welcome to week 2 of our new series, YOLO. How awesome has it been already? I've been absolutely loving this series. I love the whole essence around YOLO being about let's make the most of now. Let's make the most out of today. We might not get another chance to take this opportunity, so let's do it. And I love that. I'm Jacob. If you don't know me, I'm 21 years old. I'm part of the Zeal team here in Hereford. Something you might not know about me is I used to live on an island called Cyprus in the Mediterranean. Imagine crystal clear blue seas. Imagine 30 degrees C and sunny every single day for 9 months of the year. Yes, it was awesome. One of the things we used to do in Cyprus is go cliff jumping. Now, cliff jumping is pretty scary. It was about an hour drive away, and in the car I used to hype myself up. I used to give myself a pep talk. I used to tell myself what I'm going to do. I used to say, as soon as I get there, I'm not going to look over the cliff. I'm going to take my shoes off and I'm going to jump. I'm not going to look, I'm going to jump. And guess what? The first thing I would do when I would arrive is have a little look over the sides of the cliff. And I used to always get freaked out because it was always a lot taller, a lot higher than I originally remembered. And I remember taking a few steps back and getting ready to jump off the side of the cliff. And I used to back off, get ready to run. I'd run like skid to a halt before jumping. I was chicken out at the last moment. I'd take another look and like, whew, our fingers getting taller. I'd then take a few steps back and I would prepare to run again. I would run again and skid to a halt once more. For those of you who are thinking I'm a bit of a chicken right now, I'm going to put a picture of this cliff up because, guys, it is a big cliff. I am not joking. It's not your casual jump into the swimming pool. Anyway, the third time there's some other people there. They get a bit impatient waiting for me, and so they start cheering you on. They start kind of giving you a bit of encouragement to go, and you're getting ready, and then it happens. The dreaded countdown. They start going 5, 4, 3, and you're there freaking out, and then you jump. And then you experience the most surreal feeling of falling. I've said a million times, it's a big cliff, and when you jump, you're falling, and you can say in your head, I'm falling, I'm still falling, I'm falling, and then boom, you hit the water. You come up and you're like, that was awesome. You want to do it again and again and again. And I think that story can sum up our relationship with God, our walk with Jesus so well. You know, we struggle to take this step of faith. We're scared to step into the unknown. We have all these what if questions which come up. What if I'm not hearing from God? What if it doesn't work? What if I step out and God just isn't there and he doesn't provide? What are people going to think of me when they see me fail? But the reality is when we do step out in faith and we see God move, we just want to do it again and again and again. Guys, join me in Matthew 14, verse 25. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. But I'll sum up the situation for you a little bit. So the disciples are on the lake. It is stormy, and it's about 3 a.m. in the morning. Well, they see a figure walking on the water, and they're freaked out. They're like, that's a ghost. I understand what they mean, because I get freaked out if I get woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning by a cat meowing. Never mind being on a lake at 3 a.m. in the morning in a storm and then seeing a man walking towards me. Peter says, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come onto the water. Come, Jesus said. Then Peter got down out of the boat and walked on water, and he came towards Jesus. Now this gets interesting. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. See, when Peter took his eyes off Jesus and put it onto his situation, his worldly situation around him, he began to sink. And I think that's so true to us. When we take our eyes off Jesus and we put it onto the situation around us, we start getting distracted by the world. We start getting consumed by the world, and we start getting fearful. We start to sink. But immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? Guys, fear will sink you, but with faith, you will walk. My message today is titled, Go Against the Flow. I believe no matter who you are, your upbringing, your race, your nationality, what style you are, I believe that we're all wired in a certain way. I believe that we're all wired to follow the flow of this world. I'll give you an example. After school, where do you go? You go to college, then you go to uni, then you go and get a job. Why? It's because it's what the world tells you to do. It's what everyone else is doing, so that's what you follow. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying actually some of that's really, really, really good. But there's other things in this world which we can have a tendency to follow, but it's just not God's plan. You know, there's things in this world which are not of God, but yet the world follows them. And so we feel like we need to follow them too. But God has called us to go against the flow. Guys, turn with me to Romans 12, verse 2. Do not go along with the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. See, as young people especially, we are tuned to just go along with the ways of this world. But the reality is, even if you look at the Bible, Jesus did not go along with the flow. He went against the flow. He broke some rules. He did some stuff which the world could not understand. He healed on the Sabbath. He went and socialized with sinners. He touched the untouchable. See, we are called to go against the flow, and it's not easy to step out in faith. It's not easy to step out in faith. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to walk this Christian life. And actually, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. In fact, I'm saying that the Christian way, the Jesus way, is actually probably more difficult. See, it's going to be easier on a Friday night to go and get drunk, to go and hang out in nightclubs and find fulfillment in relationships. But the reality is, nothing will fill you. Nothing can fill this hole which is inside of you apart from Jesus. See, when we start to live out in this Christian walk, when we start to live out in faith, we start to experience God's goodness. We start to walk with purpose. See, I love the end bit of the scripture we read about earlier. Jesus said to Peter, you of little faith. But the reality is, all we need is a little bit of faith. All we need is a little bit of faith, one step of faith. See, Peter had enough faith to step out of the boat, and he saw a miracle. He saw God move. All we need is one little bit of faith. I was in Israel a few years ago, and they tell a famous story while I was there, and it was about when the Syrian army tried to overtake Jerusalem. And I don't know if you've ever been to Jerusalem, but if you have, you'll know that in summer it's very, very hot. It's like a desert, and there's no trees or shade outside of the city walls. And the Syrian army had surrounded Jerusalem, surrounded the city walls. However, they were getting too hot. There was no shade, and so there was actually a Jewish spy which had integrated himself into the Syrian army. And he came up with the idea that if we grew trees where the Syrian army were, then it would give us protection, it would give us some shade where we can relax, we can find comfort. Now they thought that was a great idea, so they did it, and a few weeks later these trees grew. They were very fast growing trees. And then the Jewish spy snuck back into Jerusalem, and he told the Jewish leaders, wherever, look over the city walls, wherever you find trees, there's Syrian men. So the Jewish army then went and they shot at the trees and killed the Syrian army. And what I get out of this story is comfort will kill us. See, stepping out of faith isn't comfortable. Stepping out of faith into the unknown, into the unseen, isn't comfortable. I believe it all boils down to this one question: can you step before you can see? Can you step before you can see? We're going to jump to 1 Kings 19:19 and talk about a guy in the Bible called Elisha. So Elijah went there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. He was ploughing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him and threw his cloak around him. Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah. "Let me kiss my father and mother goodbye," he said, "and then I will come with you." "Go back," Elijah replied. "What have I done to you?" So Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the ploughing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out to follow Elijah and became his servant. Guys, Elisha was a young guy. He was a business leader. He had about 11 people working for him. He was in an all right place. He wasn't worried about money. He had some cash behind him. He wasn't lining up in McDonald's checking his bank balance to see if he could afford that McFlurry. He was doing okay. I find it interesting when Elijah put the coat over Elisha, that was representing God's call over his life. And I find it so interesting that Elisha wasn't chasing after God's call, but God's calling was chasing after him. See, Elisha was living a faithful life, but he was living a very comfortable life. He was living in his comfort. But the interesting thing is, when God's calling came upon him, he decided to burn all he had. He decided to burn his comfort, his possessions. Can you imagine what his neighbours would have thought? You know, they would have known him as this young, successful guy. And then one day they see him burning all his stuff in his backyard, a big bonfire. They'd be like, "That's a nice couch going in there. What is he doing?" Elisha was making sure that he couldn't rely on his comfort anymore. See, Elisha knew that stepping out in faith was a discomfort. He knew that his comfort, that his security was going to hold him back from jumping off that cliff, was going to hold him back from stepping out of that boat and walking on the water, was going to hold him back from stepping out in faith. My question today is, what do we need to put on the fire? What things in our life are holding us back from having a true relationship with God? What things are holding us back from living out in faith every single day? You know, what conversations do we need to have? What relationships do we maybe need to end? What sin which we just cannot get rid of, no matter how hard we try, do we need to put into the fire today? I think even about people like Kanye West. They have everything. They had everything. They had the house, they had the money, they had the fame, they had everything that a person would ever want, yet there was something missing. Yet they were empty. That's exactly the same as Elisha. What do we need to put in the fire today? What do we need to give up? Can we, Zeal? Can we step before we can see? Let's be people who step before we can see. Guys, we love you. We hope you have an awesome week. Guys, I'm praying that you'll be able to step out in faith this week, that you can walk in purpose.
Zeal, thank you for joining. Guys, I'm loving every time we come together and get to be a part of this all together as one. But guys, it's slowly coming to an end, but that doesn't mean we can't still be together, can't still hang out. We want to keep messaging, keep hanging out socially in the week, so keep your eyes peeled, keep on the lookout whilst we go into the summer, because I'm sure there are going to be things we're going to do. So guys, keep your eyes peeled, like I said, and come back next week for our next part of this series, YOLO. It's so great. I'm loving every single moment. But guys, we love you all and we hope you have an amazing weekend. Stay in touch.